Hey, good evening, everybody. It is October the 23rd, 2021, and this is Connie Reguli here through the Family Forward Project, along with Michelle Chan in California. And we just wanted to tell you what we're doing to get together and just kind of give some updates. So just share this if you would. We're doing it through StreamYard, so it's a little bit different for us, but once it gets up there and you can pass it around, we'd really appreciate it. So for those of you who know me already, I'm just going to do a real quick 30-second. I'm Connie Reguli. I am in Tennessee. I am an attorney who's worked with family for 27 years, but I am also an advocate for child welfare reform. That is my heart, where I cannot handle what they continue to do on a day-to-day basis of just the continued corruption and incompetence with the child welfare agencies. And I'm telling you, I see it every single day. So I have reached out to Michelle because she's in California. I've seen the work that she's done over the past few years. She's way out there on the other coast, and that's really far away from me. So I've reached out to her to hopefully that we can join some forces. And Michelle, just introduce yourself a little bit, if you would.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks for watching. And thank you, Connie. My name is Michelle D. Chen, and I am founder and director of a NorCal activist group called California Families Rise. And this is also broadcasting on California Families Rise. So those of you that know me, hi again. That's Connie. Hopefully you'll be seeing more of the two of us here together. California Families Rise, we grew out of, we used to call ourselves Parents Against CPS Corruption. So we started out it was 5 or 6 years ago, and there was just two of us. We were system impacted parents with open cases in San Francisco, me and Shantae Foster, and there was no one we could turn to for help. We had legitimate complaints in both of our cases. In my case, there was gross and criminal misconduct. In Shantae's case, what was going on in her case were children I can't even speak of because it just trust me, it was awful. And the system was really, really failing all of our children, and there was no one to turn to. So we started an activist group, and we circulated 40,000 flyers in 1 month. We opened a website, and before long, I was invited to write for a local newspaper called the San Francisco Bayview newspaper. And we grew from 2 to 4 to 10 to a few dozen. And at one point, there were hundreds of us, all focused in the Northern California area. And we were able to really push through a lot of things that we achieved a lot. My son came home. We forced Judge Nancy Davis into retirement. We were influential in the judicial audit that was going on. We partnered with people that were working to audit the Commission on Judicial Performance. And we tied our protests into that movement that was currently existing and going on. And we just, I mean, it was incredible, the energy that has been just surging through California the past few years, the past 5 years. We've had some amazing rallies, and a lot of the success of what we had was supported in part by my journalism, but it was also the online social media community. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I've been watching Connie do for years, so effortlessly. And in fact, I was introduced to this movement in general because one day one of my newspaper articles just went like kind of viral for me. It was suddenly shared by tens of, I think 1,000 more people in a day. And I searched it on Facebook and I found Connie Reguli had shared one of my articles. So I just want to say that social media has so much power, right? And so I'm hoping that we can blend the activism, my on the ground activism, with Connie's social media activism and also her legislative know-how. Connie, do you want to talk about Family Forward California?
Yeah. So first of all, Michelle, when did you give me a little bit of a time frame that you're talking about? Because I'm not sure. I know I've crossed paths with you and just seen what you've done out there, but what is this time period from when you kind of started up and then you just really felt it begin to grow?
Okay, so we started exactly in 2016. Actually,
Okay.
no, I met Shantae Foster like a few days before Christmas in 2016. And
Okay.
we developed the plan for Parents Against CPS Corruption on Christmas Day in 2016. And it was like
Mhm.
in February, we decided that we were going to have an opening protest. And then she
Okay.
was the one that said, well, the one protest isn't just going to shut it down. We have to keep it up. And so, and so we decided we were going to have 5 protests. And that was on Christmas Day 2016. And our first protest was February 14th. And you have to realize we were literally nobodies with nothing. I didn't even have anywhere to go on Christmas Day. When she invited me, she was a perfect stranger, and she invited me to go and spend Christmas Day with her. Our combined monthly income was maybe $500
Oh my
tops.
God.
And I spent all that money. I just took the last bit of money I had, and I paid for a website domain, and I bought a printer. And for the next 2 months, I spent every cent that I had on printer ink and paper. And we printed these flyers that were so little. They were half sheet flyers. And all they said was protest CPS. And it wasn't because I was trying to be elusive. I mean, I couldn't afford the ink to print 40,000 flyers unless they had too much stuff on it. So there were 2 of us after our opening protest. We grew to be 4 or 5. There were 4 of us and then 5 of us for many months, for about 8 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So, I mean, one thing I want to say to you, Michelle, is thank you. Okay. Just thank you, thank you, thank you. Because part of change, a big part of change is the narrative, right? You've got to have the talking points. You've got to have the narrative. You've got to have people speaking up. I mean, and I, as an attorney, have been in the drill, down in the trenches with families for 27 years, and I've seen the problems over and over and over. But when I first started going to legislators and talking to them, they treated me like I was just trying to gain some kind of strategic advantage for a child abuser. I mean, it was so bizarre. And when that happened, even though I had seen many cases, I had seen the repeated patterns of what was happening, they would not listen. So my next step then was, I am going to raise the narrative. I am going to increase the conversation with the parents. And that was a huge, huge challenge. And that's why I want to say I thank you so much, because parents would not speak up for several reasons. One of them is because they're embarrassed, they're overwhelmed, they have no money, they're super stressed, they just want this to go away, right? And so, first of all, I want to thank you. And this is a call out to every single parent out there. And now here we are. I mean, I really started the social media in about 2014. And so I've been pushing for about 7 years. But I had already been to legislative presentations. I had already had joint legislative sessions where I talked about judicial abuse. I've gone to the indigent task force and spoke to them. So I needed that next step where parents could actually have a voice. And that's why I did Family Forward Project. It is not for me. I mean, honestly, as an attorney, I have faced so much retaliation for being open and public and talking about these problems. So, Family Forward Project is not for me. I would have been much better off without it. It is for us to raise the narrative so we can create change. So, thank you so much. And when I look at you as a parent who put it together on just, you had $500 to get a printer, that is a real powerful strength and experience that you have, that you can tell these parents, look, you can do something, right? Because that's what I tell people all the time. Do something every single day. Do something. Write a postcard, make a flyer, make a phone call, just do something, and then continue to reach out through social media. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And that is one reason why I am so happy to join forces with you, so that you can just tell people it's okay. They can do it. They can do it. And it's okay. You know, in 2016 and 17, I started visiting other places, and I went to about 10 different states, and I'd get an airplane and I'd go. And I mean, there were sometimes we had 5 people there, and there's sometimes we had 300 people there. Okay,
Right.
so parents have got to say it's okay to make a poster and stand on a street corner. Just go do it. Right?
Right. Right. And Tani, I thank you so much for what you do. I look at you, and there is, I mean, if only every person that worked on the other side had the courage to do what you do. I mean, I can only imagine your livelihood. You have to work, and I see so many attorneys here in California that are scared to stand up for parents. And I know a lot of attorneys have bad reps in this area of law, and a lot of them deserve it. And some of them are just decent people that are kind of stuck in a messed up system that they, you know, I mean, it's not a jury trial. You're sitting in front of a judge. And when you fight against the system, and then when the system turns against you, how can you fight for your clients and for parents if the system's off, if you're fighting the whole system sometimes? And I know you are one attorney who has really decided to take on the system, and also really giving us parents the guidance, because as that person leading the charge in your capacity, it also provides a lot of guidance to us parents.
Well, thank you. And that's one thing that I hope I can do is help parents understand that they have got to work with their attorneys to get their case together. They are the ones who have to get their case prepared, because attorneys, it's so much work. I mean, it is so hard. And if they're court appointed attorneys, and I know a lot of people that end up in the child welfare system end up with a court appointed attorney, and they don't make a lot of money. They have to depend on the judge for their job, which means they don't want to upset the judge, right? And they don't want to upset CPS, because they may need CPS to work with them on something. And so there's it's a very, very fragile system on the inside. And parents who come into this, honestly, they get like blindsided about the system, right? Because something may happen, like let's say there's a referral, and either they think it's a false referral, or they think, oh, I'll just tell the truth, I'll just let them know the truth, and then this will all go away. And then they get hooked up into this system, and they have no idea how twisted and contorted it is. And it's everything from the way the judges handle the case, to the way court appointed attorneys handle the case, to what guardian ad litems do, to social workers. There's so many players. And I'll just give you an example from a legal standpoint. Let's say you have a car wreck, and you go hire an attorney for your car wreck. Okay, so you have a plaintiff, and you have a defendant, and you have a courtroom, right? You don't have a social worker and a team leader and a regional supervisor and a guardian ad litem and an attorney ad litem and an attorney here and an attorney there, and then 4 more attorneys over there. I mean, it is just the dynamics are so overwhelming for the poor parent who's caught in the middle. I mean, I've sat in these CPS meetings with families, and I've sat there with, and I had a mom who had a disability, and I sat there in this room with her, and I go, okay, let's see. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people in this room who are on the taxpayer payroll, and they are all against my client. So that the overwhelming, and that's one of the things that we hopefully, now that we're doing more social media, now that we have, I mean, I think there are 60 some pages and groups, and on Facebook alone, I mean, if people search CPS, like 10 pop up, right? Which I'm fine with, I'm great with, because people need to understand immediately the stress and the bizarre, twisted dynamic that you're walking into with this culture. And it's overwhelming. So that's one of the things that I hope that I can do. And when I tell the stories about the different cases that are coming up, or what I've seen happen, or how I handled a problem, sometimes I just like to say, look, this issue came up, and here's how I handled it. And just give people the strength and the power to say something when they see something. So, because I tell parents, look, you got two things. Number one, you need to get your facts in order. You need to know every person's name, every person's phone number. You need to know your facts. And then you need to understand that you need to ask a lot of questions. So, these children getting caught in the system, I mean, I look at it as children who are incarcerated, right? We are incarcerating children. We're limiting their liberty. We're stripping them away from everything they know, and we shove them into a system, and there's no way out.
Right. Foster care is definitely prison. It's cruel and unusual punishment. And it's really insane when you look at, when you really, the general American public just has no idea that when you really consider the mundane, minuscule, irrelevant things that children can be removed from, and then where we are placing them. And why not with family? And why not with family? So I hear this a lot, and it's valid that parents are scared to come forward and tell their stories or stand behind projects like yours or like mine or now like ours, which is the Family Forward California. But the thing is that the system is already targeting parents. I mean, in so many of these cases, like you said, there are 7, 8 people on the case, and they've already decided before the case even started what the outcome is. And when it's like a gang, I mean, when I had my own case open, they would just come in and I would sit there. The entire team, including my own attorney, would all come back from lunch together, high-fiving each other. And they would all walk into the courtroom and like collectively screw me over. And, I mean, it took me a long time to realize what was happening. And I mean, and whether they're doing it on purpose or not, the point is that they're just it's a club. They're just, and I wasn't a part of it. They were a big club that I wasn't a part of. And all of these players all work together regularly. So whether they're doing it on purpose or they're just doing it because they've developed improper relationships and through that they, and its biases or it's straight up corruption, however you look at it. I like to say it's corruption, but now I'm trying to have a vision for a brighter future that can be fixed. So I'm hoping that I still believe that this system can be fixed. So Connie, do you want to tell me a little bit about some of the work you do to fix this system?
Yeah. So, I mean, let's talk about the white elephant in the room, which is money, right? Because money is the root of the problem and will ultimately be the root of the solution. So, probably most of the people that watch this know that there's Title 4E funding that states get rewarded for removing children from homes, sticking them into the homes of strangers, into foster care, which I call it foster fail. And then they get bonus checks for adoption. So, we did have the change with the Family First Act in February 2018. Not a single state has fully implemented it, though. And here we are, 2021. What happened is everybody kept trying to kick the can down the road so they wouldn't have to put it into effect. But we do have a few states who have actually passed a Family First Act. I know that, let's see, Nebraska was one of the first ones. And then Missouri and Maine have actually fairly recently passed Family First Act. Florida's passing a very big act this year on child welfare reform. I've printed it all off. It's pretty comprehensive. I haven't read the whole thing, but we have to, and I am reaching out and I am asking you all to watch what's going on in your state legislatively. Now, I'm going to say, and don't be embarrassed if I say to you, who's your state representative, and you can't tell me, okay? Because I was probably 47 years old before I understood that I had a state rep, okay? But they are so critically important now. Right. So for every single person, no matter where you are, and I see some people who are now making some comments and popping up here, y'all need to get on the web internet. Look up your General Assembly or your cabinet or whatever it is, and you are going to find out who your state rep is and who your state senator is. You're also going to get your commissioner's phone number and your congressman and your U.S. congressman and your U.S. senator and put them in your phone, okay? Put them in your phone, because I'm going to tell you, the pandemic has done one positive thing for us. It has made people more aware of calling our government and calling them out. And this is, and we need to do it, and we need to be in their ear all the time. Now, I'll tell you what I do is I show up, right? So I'm a conservative. I've been active in the Republican Party. So I go to the governor's dinner here. I go to a Republican meeting over there. Wherever there's going to be a politician, I go if it's within an hour of me. Okay. So I just go. And then when they're finished talking, when the meeting is over, I wiggle my way right up to their face and I go, hello, my name is Connie Reguli and I'm an attorney and we have a social media group and we're working on child welfare reform. And there are a lot of problems in child welfare reform. And I'd really like to talk to you about that sometime. And I pretty much have a little 30-second spiel down, which everybody needs to get their little 30-second spiel. But they're beginning to hear it because they all know in Congress, in the U.S. Congress, they all know that they passed the Family First Act, but they know that it's not been implemented. So from the U.S., from the federal standpoint, they know that there's a problem with the federal spending. From the state standpoint, we just have to be in their ear, in their ear, in their ear. And sometimes I remind people that, look, all of the DUI statutes, all of the alcohol abuse, driving issues started with one upset mother. Okay. Mothers Against Drunk Driving pushed it and pushed it and pushed it. And she was in their ear all the time. So I'm watching what's going on in the States. And we went ahead and we created a family forward group for every single state so that people could collect in their states. Facebook is always messing with us. So the Family Forward Project, it has over 15,000 members, but sometimes Facebook just goes in and just like blocks out people. They are blocking our group from being found because I'm getting like all these weird people from countries I don't even know who are trying to get into our group and we don't let them in there. So we're going to have to get us in a better platform. But right now, Facebook has billions of users. So we continue to use that. So get in your Family Forward state group. And Michelle and Kathy are leading up the Family Forward California. So look at Family Forward California if you're there, Family Forward Alabama, Family Forward New Mexico, wherever you are. And then we are dividing into regions. And so ultimately we will have 6 regions, and those states are identified in the Family Forward Foundation website, but we'll get people to kind of lead up that region so that we can watch the law better. Because when I go and I talk to a state legislator, one of the first questions they want to know is what are the other states doing? So we need to get one state to do one little thing and then take that to the next state and the next state and the next state. And so if you just like totally freak out and you just like cannot open your mouth in front of a stranger. So I understand that maybe your starting point, but we're going to take you way out of that comfort zone until you feel okay holding up a sign saying stop CPS, making a phone call, and you're going to do it with the support of others.
Right. And I want to sort of chime in on that. That's a great point. There's a lot of parents that feel like they are scared to that can't speak well publicly, that are scared to stand and come public. And I want to tell everyone here today that I was and I still am one of those people. And that's something about me that a lot of people don't know. I even told Connie earlier on, I said, Connie, I'm terrified of doing this live. And, the reason why I started protesting in San Francisco was because I couldn't admit to the person I couldn't admit out loud to people around me that I had a CPS case. Mm-hmm. And I know that sounds crazy to people. Why would I go protest when I can't even talk to my neighbor and admit that I have a CPS? The point was that I did it because I recognized that the reason why I was embarrassed was because of the societal stigma. Yeah. And how society viewed us. And I realized that it wasn't because of my inadequacies. It was because society is messed up. And I needed to work to change that conversation, or I could never walk through life holding my head up high. I had this case. I called every lawmaker. I called everyone to help me on my individual case, and no one would listen to me. I had cold, hard evidence that there was significant criminal misconduct. I mean, violations of penal codes. I am not kidding. There was a reason why my judge was forced into retirement. And I couldn't get anyone to listen to me. They wouldn't give me the time of day, but I realized they all told me we can only look into it if it's a systemic issue. So I thought that's when I realized, so we need to show that it is a systemic issue. And how do we do that? So I thought of it, I approached it at the most basic level. You get people together that all have the same issue, and you make noise until people listen to you. You just keep shouting and shouting and shouting. And for all of you that don't recognize how important it is to protest and to rally, I mean, and protesting and rallying goes together so well with legislative reform and with social media. When you put the three together, it is really powerful, because that's what we need to get them to. They don't want to listen to us. They're not going to want to listen to us. They would rather look at us like cockroaches. They would rather, they would rather look at us parents like cockroaches and warrior attorneys like Connie. They would rather just single out and then target her. But you want to know something? They can't single out and target her as easily when we're all standing behind her. And a lot of parents have come to me, and they've all been like, "Oh, I'm so scared of the retaliation." But I want to tell you that we don't. My kid's home. A lot of it, a lot of core members. I mean, I interview people. I do kind of like my own assessments of the community. I do like my own research. It's not formal, but the levels of reunification in my group are no lower. In fact, I think they're higher than the general population. I talk to a lot of people. It's not happening any less. And in fact, I think I get treated. I definitely got treated fairer in court after I started protesting, because they were already targeting me.
Yeah. I mean, and so I will tell you, I have a lot of retaliation because being public. Okay. So for instance, let me tell you this and tell parents this so they understand why attorneys won't speak up. So in Williamson County, Tennessee, I had several parents come up to me and talk about our juvenile court judge, Sharon Guffey, who I think is a horrible judge. And I'd seen how she had treated people, but these people came up to me that I was not their attorney in their cases, and they all wanted to speak out. And, we talked about where to speak out, what they should do. And she is a county employee. So part of our discussion was, well, go to the county commission and tell them what's going on. And so there was a date selected, and these parents decided to go all on the same date. They had 8 different parents there. It was powerful. I mean, it was powerful. We held up a picture of their kid. We talked about, everyone had a different story. I helped every one of them I just talked to them about, what might want to be heard. And I am now being sanctioned for speaking out about that judge. So they're blaming it all on me. They're saying I'm the one who was interfering with the administration of justice because all these families wanted to speak out. So this is why attorneys won't do it. But you have got to do it.
Can I ask you a question, Connie?
Yeah.
You do it all over again?
Oh, absolutely. As a matter of fact, what I have done is I just took 3 families to the state legislature for the summer study, and I helped them get prepared. And then we have done some stories. One of the things that I have been pretty good at, and it's a lot of work, so I can't do it as much as I would like to, but we have actually done some media stories. So those are on my YouTube. If they scroll back, because I haven't done one recently, but if they scroll back, they will see where I had gotten Channel 5, Channel 4, local Fox 17 to all do stories on some pretty horrific things. And one of them on Fox 17 got 1 million views. And so they were like, oh, okay, now we get it. And then the other thing is not just the stories that I've helped get out there, but I follow the stories. And when you look at the stories, look at who is doing the story. So identify the reporter, and then you need to touch base with that reporter and give them more information, because those are reporters who already have a basic set of information and they have an interest in it. So in Tennessee, we have had in the past probably 18 months, we've probably had 12 different stories about either juvenile court or CPS. And I've got reporters that now will call me and ask me questions about the direction of their stories. So everybody out there, every parent out there needs a 30-second pitch line. They need a 3-minute story, and they need a 10-minute story. And I'm going to tell everybody, I used the whole thing about being embarrassed. I used to say within 6 degrees of separation, there is somebody in your world who's been touched by it. I now believe it's closer to 3 degrees of separation. So if you're at your hairdresser and you just say the word about foster care, I think there's problems there, you can engage them in that conversation. And they either know somebody, either for or against, and it may be somebody for foster care. So you have to be prepared for that. And you have to, but you want that conversation. You just want the conversation, because then we can start engaging people and knowing what the problem is. So, and then as far as understanding your government, I talked about your state reps. But, we have and I say this just down to the basics. There's 3 branches of governments. There's the judicial, the legislative, and the executive branch. So all of these agencies are executive branch agencies. That's why you want to call your governor's office. All of these agencies are funded by your state legislative branch. And that's why you want to call your state legislative branch. And if they say to you, we can't do anything about it, you say to them, you control their pocketbook. Okay. You control the funding. You write their checks. They come to you every year and ask for more money, more money, more money, more money, more money. You need to have them audited. So, that's the, I know my spiritual gifts are advocacy and encouragement. And my thing is just encourage people, encourage people, encourage people. Just speak up, speak up, speak up, tell your story. And thank goodness in Family Forward Project, we have a lot of families that sit down in detail and document their story. And it's heartbreaking.
It is so heartbreaking. It is. But you're right. It is so important. We have to tell our stories, because that's our evidence. It's also our, also it's not enough to say, state the issues. It's not, when we tell our stories, that's how we connect with people, how we show them the human aspect. So I want to say that I'm so glad, Connie, to be collaborating on Family Forward California. I know that I, for years, have been hyper focused on California, and especially Northern California, and on the ground activism. And because we were hyper focused, I was really able to gain a lot of traction. And to this day, I don't really have capacity to do the national thing. We are over. I mean, we have hundreds of members. We have 700 members in the Bay Area alone, and that's just and that's a lot. It's a lot to handle. But I know what you do is great. You're doing the national thing. And I just think it's sort of natural that we should partner up. Family Forward Project. And I think, California Families Rise can definitely support you and what you want to do in California. And you can also support us with your knowledge and also your ability to inspire people, and also
you have a guest.
Woke up.
Our guest has just arrived.
Girl, I was at the most important part. Girl, let me put her in the bathroom, but we're probably going to have to wrap up soon, I think.
That's okay. That's okay. So I think, as we wrap up, this is the first time we've been able to do it together, and thank you so much. I think what we want to put out to all you out there is share the video, just so that we're working together. And then put out there some things that you would like for us to do. So that would include, for instance, if we bring some people on to tell their story, which I did a radio program for a while, and I liked doing that. And what we can do is we can ask questions from the different perspectives. You can ask questions more from the parent side, and I can really kind of maybe isolate some of the legal issues. So if you would like for us to do a live broadcast with you to tell your story, or if you are doing some work in your state and you would like to share that with us, or if you have a particular issue you would like for us to discuss. Now, I know, and the reason I'm saying that is because I know we have repeated issues that come up over and over and over. And I think somebody put up there about what is a parent's first step? What is the first thing they do? So if Michelle and I will start to, I'm reading some of my the comments over here. But if you will start either messaging or communicating with either Michelle or I and say, what is a topic that you would like to hear about? We certainly would like to help you move forward with that, because it's going to take, and just remember, this is not for me anymore, right? It's not for me. I could do whatever I need to do to make a living without this. It's not for Michelle anymore. She has her child. She's made it. She's survived it. She's lived through it. She understands that now it's time for her as a parent, and as a parent who's got a child who's going to be a parent one of these days, that this system cannot continue the way it is. So reach out to us and let us know.
Thank you so much. And Connie, I guess, it's funny, after I got my child back, a lot of people said to me, why do you keep doing this? I'm scared for you. I'm scared for you. And I want to say, the reason why I kept doing it was that I was scared that if I stopped doing it, that I would lose my child again, and that everyone would lose their child. Because if I stopped doing this, I always felt like, we can't stop, because even if our children are out, our grandchildren and our nieces and our nephews, no one is safe. But, so I just wanted to bring that up, and thank you, Connie, for setting up Family Forward and for inviting me into Family Forward California. And I'm really excited about this project.
Yeah, very good. Okay, y'all. So we are going to say goodnight for tonight, and stay in touch with us, message us, join the groups, and let's just keep moving forward. Thank you so much.